Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of Stash Report from Stash Project. Today is September 14th, 2020. Hope everybody had a great weekend. This weekend, my wife and I went out of town for an overnight trip down to Weston, West Virginia, West by God, Virginia, to do a 2-hour paranormal ghost hunt at the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. It is the old Weston, well, it was called the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum when it was opened, and then it was named a more genteel Weston State Hospital later in life. It was obviously a psychiatric facility, housed the state's criminally insane, things of that nature, right up through 1994 when they closed this giant old Kirkbride building, along with all the other buildings on the property. Sold it at auction. I happened to come across it actually right before they sold it at auction. I unfortunately did not have the $1.5 million required to purchase it at auction, which is what it sold for. And the new owners have significantly renovated the main sort of center section of the building. Where all the doctors, staff, doctors, head nurses, administrative staff, and things like that were. They've also restored one of the wings of the hospital, as far as one of the floors with the rooms, to the way it looked when it opened in the 1860s. So it's very cool. They do historical tours of the building, and just the grounds in general. It's about a 2-hour tour going through all the different facilities that are on the grounds there. Plus, they do a tour for the criminally insane building. They do a regularly scheduled sort of paranormal tour that they do during the day, and then they have these sort of more in-depth paranormal tours that they do in the evenings. So we did a 2-hour tour. I'll link in the description is a link to the facility's website. If you happen to be anywhere even vaguely close to the area, it's certainly just worth a trip just for the historical tour of the building and looking back at the way things were treated with mental health in the 19th and 20th century in this country. And if you're into the ghost thing, there's that as well. So hey, we found some stuff, right? All right. So there's not really going to be too much in the way of kit news and stuff like that for the next couple of weeks because, of course, we got the big, sort of fourth quarter thing from Hasegawa last week. Aoshima's, December stuff. So there's going to be spot runs from Aoshima probably at the end of this month. We'll get January's Aoshima stuff at the end of the month, beginning of next month. But there's not going to be a big chunky, goodness of regularity until probably beginning of November, because that's when we'll get January for Hasegawa. So right now we're sort of in a holding pattern. It's not gonna be a whole heck of a lot in that way. So don't think that oh, there's something wrong with the hobby or something like that. It's just gonna be a little quiet right now. The one thing I guess we can mention, Studio 27's decals for September. They are doing a carbon fiber set for that new Tamiya motorcycle, the Honda Firehawks 1000 with RRR, CRRR. It has a whole bunch of consonants after it, as well as doing a livery set for the Tamiya Mustang GT4, and that's going to be the Volt livery, the really bright yellow. It's a yellow, it's a green, it's a yellow, it's a green. Some places say it's a yellow, some places say it's a green. Anyway, it's a really bright, yellow car that Blue Stuff is doing decals for. There's a set of, I'm not even going to mention the name of sort of homebrew decals available for it that don't even fit the model kit, let alone look right. So, yeah, they're going to be doing the Road Atlanta livery, which is the one race that Volt won in 2018. So if you pick up that set of decals, I'm not sure if the blue stuff is for Road Atlanta or it's just sort of an all-encompassing, hey, this is what the car looked like, because those, associate sponsorships and little things changed race to race depending on, where they were at. So this is going to be, like I said, specifically the winning car that year. They did win some races in 2017, or 2018 rather, or no, 2017. Cars were on 2017 through 2020. But this will be like I said, their single win for 2018. Specific to that race, and with that set of decals, and if you go by Diego set of decals, the Mod Space ones we showed you on the channel the other day, those are the Watkins Glen winning decals. Now if we get somebody to make the Core Racing livery from the early part of 2018, that would give you all of the Mustangs that won in 2018, plus Core Racing or Core Motorsports was the championship for, or the champion of the Continental Tire Challenge that year. So we'll certainly look to see who we can poke and prod into making those deliveries as time goes along. But at any rate, we'll go on to the actual new kit releases this week. There's one domestic release. Everything else is going to be overseas. Domestically, we got the release of this. Now, this has actually been available at Hobby Lobby for a couple of weeks because they, for some reason, got it in early and put it out early, but it's the AMT 1964 Plymouth Belvedere. This is the Lindbergh kit that was done in the 1990s. It did have that one sort of run in the mid-2000s with Dave Burkett putting a set out. It was a sort of a Lindbergh Model King co-label. It continues the tradition, market strategy, however you want to look at it, of them taking the 1990s era sort of, you call them good Lindbergh kits. And I don't mean good like air quotes like they're bad, but I'm calling them good. I just mean they're the Lindbergh kits that everybody is like, oh, this is a really nice kit. I built their junk, and then I was shocked at how nice this kit was. Yeah, there was that period of time for about 5 years in the 1990s where Lindbergh was, you know, comparable to pretty much anybody else. So this kit does have two engines, the 426 and the slant 6. So you get a spare motor regardless of how you build it, and there are a couple of options here, but again, Lindbergh kit, so there's nothing new added to it. It's just in an AMT box. I think it's very interesting vintage box art for a kit that doesn't even technically belong to AMT, let alone you know, was issued in it was something that could be vintagely boxed art back to its original issue, if you want to call it that. But yeah, that's out and that's cool. I'm going to grab one of those because it's just one of those. I have a couple I've mentioned before. I had the Richard Petty kit, the race car version of it. I've sold that off a long time ago. And I have a couple of the 330s, the Dodge 330 kits that got fire saled at Ollie's, but I've never had just the factory stock Belvedere. And I like my Mopars. I will admit to that. So there is that. Now, going overseas, there are a couple of reissues from Hasegawa that are basically decal reissues, and then a couple of things from Aoshima that are restocked. So over at Hasegawa, we've got this. It is the Omron liveried Porsche 962C from the 1990 Japanese sports car prototype series. They did okay. They finished. I think I got a podium in one of the races that year. Not a stellar thing, not a stellar run for them. They were sort of one of the sort of second tier Porsche teams in the series. Porsche 962C did win the championship that year, but these guys were not not one of the front run teams. It's a very cool kit. I like the dark blue of the livery. You do, however, have to do a little bit of addition by subtraction here in this kit, where you have to fill some things that are on the kit. You have to open some things that are on the kit. The exhausts don't actually match 1-to-1 with the real car's exhaust. And then if you go back to the box art that was up there for a second, you have to make those front canards, if you want to call them that. There is a set of sort of canards that run along the lower body line, but then there's a second set that go over top of, literally they're riveted over top of the headlights. And so it would be really interesting to see how many people, if you build this kit and you put those on after you've sort of assembled the kit, you're going to have to paint them with the thing so it's the same shade of blue, but then assemble them afterwards. Otherwise you'll never be able to get the glass on because the glass goes on from the outside. How many people try to correct you and tell you that it shouldn't be, that you should have blended those in or whatever, and you could clearly see on the real picture that those are pieces of sheet metal or aluminum stock or I don't know what the heck else it would be, other than it clearly looks like it's a piece of metal rather than like a formed piece of fiberglass or something like that. That is quite literally just riveted onto the body over top of the headlights. It's actually covering the regular headlights, and this thing still has a set of endurance headlights in it, just so it can have a set of headlights come on. So yeah, it's a very interesting little bit of homebrew kit sort of scratch building you have to do. They do in the instructions give you 1-to-1 templates, so you can just cut it out, cut the cardstock out to the shape. It's not something you have to try to freehand or anything like that, but it is a little bit of modifications to the kit. And then the other one that's going to require, again, some modifications to the kit is this. It is the Italia Nissan R90 VP for the 1991 Japanese sports car prototype series. So surprisingly, the big thing I thought was the huge issue with this was going to be the front of the body. Where you look, it has fender vents and those sort of intakes for the radiator up front. and the again, a set of canards on it, and that all would be like, doesn't match an R9 or an R89 kit whatsoever. But there apparently was a body tooled up for this in the past. I must have, I don't, I guess maybe it's a reissue of something that came out in the past. I don't remember there ever being an R90, VP in the past. But at any rate, the front half of the body is actually correct to this car. Maybe the JSPC R89 had those modifications done to it, because I don't believe exist on the actual R89, or maybe they do. Maybe I just haven't looked at my R89 in a really long time. I have the Tamiya one. I don't have the curbside Hasegawa one. At any rate, those are all there. The side exhaust doesn't quite exact match, and then the biggest thing, if you again go back to the box art, is the those vents on the sort of behind the fuel filler door. You see there that sort of vent out the excess heat of the engine that are on both sides of the sort of the top of the bodywork, and the white right above the pink demarcation line. Those are not on the model at all, so you'd have to scratch build those if you wanted to put them on, if you cared enough to make it that accurate or not. Otherwise, it's a pink car with a white roof, decals do all the rest, and the kit's is going to be sufficient, I think, to pretty much cover everything else. The other thing about the R89 rear half of the body shell is the R89, when it ran in JSPC, had the fender, or not the fender, but the rear wheel coverage already on to make their sort of the sprint aerodynamic body package. This car clearly doesn't have that, so you have to cut the rear fender well inserts back off of the body. So, at minimum, you're doing at least that type of surgery to this. Like we told you when it was announced, this wasn't going to be an exact match for what you get in the model kit. So there's going to be a little bit of surgery required, and it is sort of is what it is. I didn't necessarily expect Hasegawa to go out and tool up a back half of a body shell just for the specific kit. I don't think it would necessarily match anything else, because the history with this is that it is a rebodied R89, became the R90. Tamiya did issue that kit as well, with the cabin tobacco livery on it, which is basically an R89 without the endurance headlights in it, and with the wheel wells closed up. And they ran that, and then it came back. It became the R90 VP in 1991. They ran one race with it, finished fifth. This is all in the literature for the kit, so they finished with it, finished fifth, went to an R91, which is of course the other Hasegawa kit that they put out, the newer one that just came out there's four of them over the course of the last 18 months. But they went off track with it, blew the transaxle out of it, and then wrecked it in 3 consecutive races, and had to bring this R90 back out of retirement. It did finish fifth one more time, and that was the end of their season, because they ended up wrecking it again, wrecking this car, and that was the end of their 1991 season. So that's back out there, and of course, you guys may recall, just announced at the little Hasegawa fall thing, they're doing the R92 in the 1993 500, or what is it? I guess it'd be 1,000 kilometers to Suzuka winning car. That's actually after JSPC ends, because it ends in 1992 when the Group C rules sort of go away. So anyway, that's out there for the race car guys who are looking for an interesting conversation piece, because there aren't too many pink cars to begin with, although there will be another one come the end of the year, but it's something else. And then everything else here, Aoshima reissues. We're just going to jog through this real quick, because we've seen these kits a dozen times over in the last 6 years. Reissue of the 1991 Nissan Safari, reissue of the 1981 Nissan Skyline 2000 Turbo GTES, depending on how you want to do it. It's either a GTE or GTS. You pick the trim level, mostly through the decals. And then we have the 1986 Nissan Leopard Ultima. And last but not least, my personal favorite R34 tuner version, the Nissan Skyline R34 GTR in the Mines livery. I've always just really liked the Mines livery V-Spec NUR body kit, along with BBS LMs. You always want to BBS all of the things. So, guys, that wraps up this week. Not, like I said, not a whole heck of a lot's going to be, we're not going to be real too terribly busy, I don't think. Here, it's just going to be just kit releases for, most of these weeks here until the beginning of November, until we sort of get back into the flow of doing monthly announcements for everybody. if you're thinking Tamiya end of the year, what am I expecting? Remember, they're going to be issuing the Lotus Super 7 and the Lotus Europa with a new turn metal injector, or not air injectors, but turn metal trumpets for the carbs, as well as photo etch, paper seat belts, and the Europa is getting the mini lights and the spoiler and stuff like that, so you can do the JPS special version that they made of that car. So that's going to be your top. Plus, the Campus Friends are going to come out here, maybe this month, maybe next month. U.S. North America, of course, will get the kit probably a month before Japan does. So those kits should probably be out next month for us here, and then it'll probably be November, December for Japan and the rest of the world. Depending on shipping. Europe, England especially, because that's the YouTube videos that I watch. But England seems to get them about 2 weeks after we do, so they may get them in early November. And I'm not that so far. The Campus Friends are available for pre-order, but the two Lotuses are not. So that indicates to me it's probably going to be a November or December release. We'll let you know when they come up. So if you want to get them out of Japan and be slightly cheaper, although with the FedEx shipping you're going to have to pay. Yeah, it's may even itself out. As we bounce out here, one last sort of thing, the mail between the Hong Kong and the United States is basically back to normal now as far as the air shipments. They're doing what is known as the air packets, which are small boxes, which are pretty much what you would get from sending like one, maybe two model kits over, or buying some hobby design stuff, or buying some decals, or little bits and pieces of the box the size of something you would ship an alpha model over in. Those boxes are now that parcel service, air service, is now back in effect as of Monday for the entire country. It was from California to Kentucky for some reason. The East Coast was getting just completely into a raw dog by the postal system and Corona there for probably about a month and a half now. But now it is back open. So for folks who are sort of East Coasters, who wanted to try out the LB production decals, want to get back to buying your SK decals directly from Frankie instead of having to go through a second party, those options are now again back open to you. So again, hope you guys had a great week and we had a fun time, and I think we'll go back down next month, do it again. It's a little bit of sort of a Corona safe activity, the small groups of less than 10. Everybody has to wear a mask all the time, and so we had, I went and splurged an extra like $10 or $15 to get like the nicest room you could get at a Holiday Inn Express, figuring that that's probably not a room that gets rented a whole heck of a lot down in the middle of nowhere in West Virginia. So we'll see how things work out in 2 weeks, I guess. So anyway, that's it. Babbling over. We'll see you guys on the other side.